Welcome to the 14th Peep Show episode of Bare Naked Bravery. My name is Emily Ann Peterson, and I host the podcast. And today I want to talk a little bit about being kind of feeling like you're in the funk, like you're not feeling the flow, let's say. There are some really pretty good things pretty good tasks that you can do to bump yourself out of this. And I just wanted to share with you some of my favorite versions of this. So before we get into all of that, I'll have a couple of announcements because it's so fun. Everything is getting kind of exciting right now. You know, it feels a little bit weird for me to be talking about feeling like I'm in a funk because I'm so not in it right now, which I think is one of the reasons why it's such a good topic for me specifically to talk about to you if you are feeling like you're in a funk, because you really don't need someone who's in a funk to tell you how to not be in a funk. So anyways, let's move on to the announcements. On May 5th is when Jake Hemming, who has been on this podcast before, he's a friend and a fellow singer-songwriter, he and I are going to do a show in Tacoma, Washington on May 5th at 7 p.m. So if you are in that area, or if you want to get to that area, you are more than welcome to join us. The tickets for that concert are on my website, emilyannpeterson.com/tickets, and you can go ahead and get thyself there. We would love to see you. It's always fun to do shows with other singer-songwriters and do kind of a concert in the round, and I always love it. It's so great. But it is, this pertains to Peep Show stuff, because Peep Shows are all about me sharing my personal experience with bravery, right? So this concert on May 5th is actually the first concert in a very, very, very long time that I've done. I am actually not sure when the last show I did was exactly. I've just been so stoked on the podcast and other fun areas of my life and my business and my creativity that the shows themselves, the concerts, have not been a priority. But I'm back in the Seattle area for a couple weeks, starting this week and next week. And so, I just thought it'd be good way to see everybody all at once and to share some life together. So it's a little nerve-wracking to kind of break the ice that has been going for so long. But I think it's gonna be a great show. I know it is. And I also have some really wonderful, beautiful little gems of songs that I've written in the past season that I would love to share with you guys. So if you can't come to the show and you're really curious about attending a future concert, then go ahead and shoot me an email, because I'm working out the dates for my tour season this summer. So we're talking, there are talks of New Jersey and LA and maybe Seattle again and possibly Hawaii, all sorts of fun things. So do shoot me an email. It's just me on the other side of the email. I'm just one person, and I would love to talk with you and brainstorm with you about concerts. Okay, last announcement thing, which is actually a super fun thing. We are doing the first Bare Naked Bravery 5-day challenge. And if you're in the Facebook group already, you'll notice that I just this week posted a group poll asking everybody what kind of bravery they're looking for. Are they looking for creative bravery, relationship bravery, career bravery, advocacy bravery, all of these? There's all sorts of kinds of bravery that shows up in our life. And I want to make sure that the challenge that we do pertains to the kind of bravery that we are all looking for. So, or the way that it should show up in our lives, right? Because bravery is all linked together, right? So, okay, let's get to some of my my favorite ways to overcome some of this like feeling in a funk. This topic comes up because I do have a bravery student who has been in a funk for a while about, she has a really big decision she has to make, and the avoidance or the resistance of making that decision just kept her in a funk because she kept avoiding and resisting, and it keeps you stagnant as a person because that movement is not happening. And so then what ends up happening is you end up dealing with depression and discouragement and feeling really dissatisfied with your life and your career and your creativity and your family and your relationships, and it just affects everything. So I am a huge advocate of keeping that movement happening in your life, even if it's just within yourself. But keeping that movement and avoiding that stagnancy is really, really good. And if you're curious about some more of that conversation, I know that Jonas Koffler, in a previous guest, he and I discussed that a lot. His episode is the episode on hustle, if you're curious to go back and listen. Excuse me. So it's important when we're in the funk to acknowledge where our distractions are. So when I have been in a funk previously, Netflix is a prime example of a distraction. Sometimes it's a necessary distraction, right? But sometimes any distractions we have, sometimes they are necessary. But choosing to be distracted by something, again, it's really just a choice. So it's really important that you look at observe where your heart and mind are in relation to those distractions, so that you can gain some perspective on how to get out of the funk that you're in. So, one of the, I'll always suggest this as being like the greatest piece of advice is to just spend 15 minutes writing stream of consciousness. Sometimes that movement alone, sometimes that like mental movement is enough to get you physically or creatively moving so that you can get out of that funk, right? There's like stuff stuck in your brain and in your heart, and you got to get it out on the page. And sometimes you have to delete the page after it's out there because it's not pretty. Some of that stuff is not pretty, and you don't want it to be recorded into the rest of the history of your life, right? So it's okay to just vomit everything onto the page and throw it away. So that's my first suggestion, is to spend 15 minutes just writing. The second suggestion I have is to, if you're like me, you kind of already know what your core values are. And if you're unfamiliar with what core values are, that's things like, for instance, my core values are creativity, expression, communion, like relating with other people, relationships, family. Those are my core values. Some people really value power and advocacy and feeling joyful and laughing and having fun or feeling freedom, or those are all values that somebody can have. And if you're in a funk and even if you have an hour a week, I would suggest to you to spend an hour or however much time each day or whatever to choose to do something that specifically and directly relates to your core value or a core value of yours. For instance, this bravery student who's, been feeling like she's in a funk. I think part of that, she and I both have acknowledged that part of that is because she kind of doesn't really know in which direction she should go after this big decision is going to be made in her life. And so my suggestion to her was, well, if you don't know what you want to do after you take the leap and you don't know what you want to do, and it just feels like you're choosing not to make the choice to leap because you don't know what's on the other side, that's completely understandable. In her case, I suggested that she she said she wants to do 3 days a week doing something that is like a scheduled activity that relates to something she wants to do, right? So I told her, well, if you value, according to her values, she values volunteering, creativity, and relationships or communion or community. So I said, well, take 1 day a week and work on one or be involved or do a project based on that one value. So if it's every Monday is volunteer day, just volunteer for anything. Write a list of organizations that you really want to work with or even businesses that you want to volunteer or help with. And just volunteer, just to remind yourself that yes, you do have this core value and you are meeting that value's needs in your life, right? So for creativity, that might be just blocking out an hour, or however much time to just do writing or to just play through all the songs that you know how to play through. Or to, if you're a visual artist, just do some sketching or take your paints or watercolors to a park and just doodle something, anything. And again, this is not this time that you're spending reminding yourself of your values. You're not supposed to be getting anything out of it other than reminding yourself that you value those things and that you're listening to those values. What I've noticed in my own life, having done this myself, what I've noticed in my own life is that when how do I put this? When I remind myself who I am, it's often a lot easier for the real way I want to say things or the real way that I want to show up in the world. Those things are a lot easier in the future. So it's very similar to like if you don't know somebody or they're like brand new or a stranger, you might be more inclined to just go, I don't really know what you want to do. And that kind of feeling is this like funk, right? We don't really know what we want to do with our life, or we're feeling kind of discouraged or bored or just kind of apathetic or unmotivated. And oftentimes if you feel that way about a person, the best way to get over that or get through that with a new person specifically too is to spend time with that person just for the sake of spending time with that person, because you can get to know exactly who they are or what makes them tick. And then it's a lot easier to go, oh yeah, hey, this chick loves painting pottery. She's going to be my painting pottery buddy. Or this is my dude friend who loves to play basketball. So I'm going to get my basketball shoes on. And I know that that's going to be something that we have in common or something that we can do together. So, and you have to do that for yourself, especially when you are feeling this discouraged and you're just kind of distracted by life or the fact that you're in a funk. It's tricky. I do want to remind you that being in a funk can be overcome with discipline. And being in a funk is different than being depressed, like clinically depressed. So I just wanted to state that. If you think you are depressed, you should go seek medical attention, because that's wise. That's wise advice. Ask your doctor. Life doesn't have to feel that way. And sometimes it doesn't have to feel, even if you're depressed, the depression might not go away, but it doesn't have to feel so bad. So there is help, and I ask you and urge you to seek that help. However, I would say that if you're just feeling like you're in a funk, like things kind of aren't going your way, or you just are avoiding something or whatever, if you view your funk as being just like, if you view the funk as being more powerful than you are, then you will become a victim of it just naturally, right? It will control you. It will take over your life, and it will take over your career and your business and all of that. But if you view the state of being in a funk as something that you can overcome with diligence and with a little extra elbow grease, or not giving into laziness about it. I think it'll be a lot easier if you recognize that this is something that I can overcome. This is something that is going to take a little sweat on my brow to overcome, but it can be overcome. So, and honestly, if you have any disagreements with me on this, I would love to hear it, because it's a great conversation. It's a good topic to discuss, and all of that discussion can happen in the Facebook group if you want, or again, you can just send me an email. I'm happy to do that too. But generally, I just want to encourage you guys that when you're feeling in a funk, usually something is holding you back. And that something that's holding you back is most of the time is just you avoiding the growth, or not wanting to feel the extra discomfort of that growth. So sometimes if you are avoiding that discomfort, for instance, you need to remind yourself that ultimately you are in control of how and when and where you feel comfort. So there is a time for you to be nurturing towards yourself, especially when you're in a funk. But that requires the sensitivity that we need when we're talking about bravery. It requires the observation the observation muscle that we get to build when we're building bravery in our lives. And you guys can do it. You really can. I also think that if you're running away from a problem and using your funk as the way that you're running away from the problem, it is like, now is the time to wake up and be alert, and open yourself up to seeing this problem that you're running away from. See it from a new angle. Get outside the box, kind of shake your head a bit, wiggle your fingers, and, get to a new angle with this problem. Because if you're just if you're feeling a funk out of an avoidance of something, then sometimes just observing that thing observing that thing from a new perspective is enough to give you a brand new, like an in on how to get through the mountain that is in front of you that you're avoiding climbing. Sometimes mountains are hard to climb. It's true. So that is my suggestion. So first suggestion, write for 15 minutes. Second suggestion, write down your core values and make sure that there is time in your calendar where you're devoting an activity towards your core value with just the one sole purpose of doing something related to your core value. It doesn't have to become a product. It doesn't have to become an awesome relationship. It doesn't have to become a beautiful piece of artwork, but just spend some time in your life doing stuff related to your core values for the sake of your core values. And then the third thing is to get a new perspective of the problem that you're avoiding, or the growth that you're avoiding the discomfort from. If you get that new perspective, it'll be really, really helpful. So if you have any questions about any of this, do shoot me an email. It's just me. And if you are interested in going to the May 5th, the Cinco de Mayo Fun Songwriters Round in Tacoma with me and Jake Hemming, who is also a podcast guest here. Jake and I's friend Steve Norman will be playing as well. Tickets for that are available at emilyannpeterson.com/tickets. And if you're interested in joining the Bravery Challenge, go to Bare Naked Bravery /challenge or barenakedbravery.com/challenge. All of that stuff is going to be super exciting, and the Facebook group is bubbling and buzzing with the anticipation of the Bare Naked Bravery Challenge. So if you are in a funk right now, my overwhelming encouragement to you is I ask that you feel my internet hug first, because I have totally been there. And then do reach out to us, the group, or me personally, if you feel like you need some of that extra personal touch. I'm happy to have emails and respond to emails from you guys. It's always fun hearing from you guys in any capacity. So that's it. That's the Peep Show episode for this week. I am so happy to have you as listeners, and I'm excited to announce, drumroll please, next week we get to listen to Ian Cron's episode. He is the author of a really cool book about the Enneagram, which is a personality paradigm. And if you are interested in the Enneagram at all, or even if you're not and you've never heard of it before, this conversation with him is really cool, really, really neat. You'll want to definitely tune into that coming up on Tuesday. So with that, I wish you a beautiful weekend. Have an awesome funk-free Friday. I will see you guys soon.